I'd like to call the Rental Housing Board meeting to order. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's do roll call, please. Persons wishing to address the Inglewood Rental Housing Board on any of the item of the agenda may do so at this time. Public comment section is now closed. M1,
Approval of the minutes of the meeting held on September 13, 2003.
do I have a motion to approve? Motion is moved. Madam Secretary,
Board members Hamilton, Burgoso, Brown, Chairperson Heaney.
here. DR1,
Resolution to establish the regular meeting schedule for the Rental Housing Board.
Madam Secretary.
Board members Burgoso, Evans, Brown, Chairperson Heaney.
Here.
Yeah.
Right. Aye. Yes.
Second? Second. Do I?
Yes. No, right, got it. I see what you're saying. So M1, there was a motion. A motion, okay. And so DR1, motion to approve. Correct. Motion. Okay, motion to approve?
I second.
Ms. Brown, pull your microphone down, please. Everybody pull your microphones down. Thank you.
Burgoso, Evans,
Wait for, you gotta wait.
Okay.
So we're calling a roll call vote that you approve the adoption of the resolution. So it's aye or no.
Understand. I'm just wondering which of the resolutions that we're at.
You only have one. The one where you scheduled your meeting time to be on second Wednesdays at 2. So item DR1.
Okay. Yes, I approve.
Evans,
Present? No.
Aye.
Brown,
Aye.
and Chairperson Heaney.
Aye. DR2,
Staff report recommending the Rental Housing Board establish temporary relocation assistance for displaced tenants.
we will now have comments from the Housing Protection Director.
Good afternoon, rental housing board members. Before you is to establish temporary relocation assistance for displaced tenants. Staff will have a presentation outlining the different items that we need you to consider. I want to let you know that for each recommendation, numbers 3 through 7, that you can make a motion and second to approve it as it is written, or you can make a motion or second to establish your own. For instance, thank you, the per diem rate for lodging is 182 if for the GSA is established. And then when staff did research, it was determined 178.52. You can go with either of those choices, or you can decide that for a lodging rate for temporary relocation, it could be $50 a day. You're not gonna find any place to lodge for $50, but it's to give you an option. Staff gave you recommendations. You can go with the recommendations, or you would make a motion on your own to come up with another total. So it's best that you do each one, 327, have the discussion and vote on them separately. And then that's it.
Okay, we will now have a presentation regarding temporary relocation assistance from the Housing Protection Department.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amari Watson, and I'm here to go over a small presentation of the Housing Protection Department we've prepared regarding temporary relocation assistance in the city of Inglewood. So first off, we have a roadmap of why is it important to establish temporary relocation assistance in Inglewood. Well, first of all, it's important because we want to offer guidance to both owners and tenants in the city of Inglewood. Similar rental stabilization programs from other cities have clear guidelines and policies for temporary relocation. Furthermore, we wanted to offer clarity and consistency in this process. Next, I would like to turn your attention to Section 8-123 of the Housing Protection Ordinance. That's page 12. So I know you guys have your binders. If in your binder in this, oh, good, thank you. Welcome, Mr. Hamilton. Just started the presentation. Come on in. Yes. Sorry. That's fine.
What did she say it was on page 12?
So, yes, in your binders that were provided, and we'll wait for Mr. Hamilton to get settled. We're just getting started, Mr. Hamilton, so you haven't missed too much. Page 12 of the ordinance, section 8-123. So basically, pursuant to this section, temporary relocation is due to a displaced tenant if a tenant has vacated a rental unit in compliance with a governmental agency's order to vacate, or due to health or safety conditions. Further, the temporary relocation assistance shall be set by resolution of the board. The amount may be based upon reasonable per diem rates, which may include safe and sanitary hotel, motel, or short-term rental accommodations, meal allowance if the temporary accommodations lack cooking facilities, laundry allowance if the rental property included laundry facilities, and the temporary accommodations lack laundry facilities, pet accommodations if the rental property allowed pets and the temporary accommodation does not accept pets, and lastly, cost associated with moving and storage. So again, the purpose of this presentation right now is because you as the housing board will vote on a variety of items relating to temporary relocation to establish a resolution which is required by the ordinance. We're going to take questions at the end of the presentation, but yes, basically pursuant to section 8-123, temporary relocation is owed to a tenant if they are displaced for said reasons. Governmental agencies order to vacate due to health or safety conditions. But again, I'm going to go through the presentation and at the end. No? Okay, at the end of the presentation, then we'll have the questions, and then you guys will have your discussions. So today's subjects will cover timeframes, payments, incidentals, and distribution of payment. So let's start with timeframes. We are proposing for the first 30 days, the owner will pay a per diem rate plus incidentals or offer comparable housing. Days 31 through 90, the owner will offer rent differential payments plus incidentals or offer comparable housing. After 90 days, we are proposing that the owner is eligible to petition the board to have tenant's status changed to permanent relocation. Next is one of the most important items, the per diem rate. We are proposing two sources. The first source is the per diem rates published by the General Service Administration, which is a federal agency that offers standardized rates for per diem and meal allowances per area. Currently, the GSA rates for LA County are daily lodging per household at $182, meal allowance per individual at $74, meal allowance per child for children under 12 years or 12 years of age and younger at $37. For the other option, Housing Protection staff did do research and took an average of 3+ star rated hotels within a 10-mile radius of the Inglewood Forum, which is considered the city center of Inglewood. And, sorry. Sure.
I'm sorry.
No worries. I gave everyone a chance to silence their phones.
Go ahead, proceed. Thank you.
Sure. Again, so covering the second option here, again, Housing Protection staff, we took an average of 3+ star rated hotels within a 10-mile radius of the center of, considered the center of Inglewood, which is the Forum. And based on that data, the current hotel per night average is $178.52. We also propose to adopt the GSA meal allowance, which is again per individual at $74, and the children 12 years or younger at $37. Next, we have incidentals. Again, pursuant to Section 8-123 of the ordinance, if the temporary accommodations lack certain items, then the displaced tenant is eligible for certain allowances. We've already covered the meal allowance, and that's if the accommodations lack cooking facilities. Here, we'll talk about the remaining allowances pursuant to the ordinance. Again, in researching surrounding cities, the data that we found, for instance, for pet accommodations, the city of Santa Monica for cats is $35, dogs $64. West Hollywood, cats at $47, dogs at $68. Alameda, cats at $38, dogs at $71. Beverly Hills, Pasadena, LA County, they don't have pet accommodations. The city of Inglewood, we are proposing using an average of pet accommodations. Again, research done within a 10-mile radius of the center of Inglewood. And we found that the average for cats were $37.50, dogs $68.60, and we're recommending a 2-pet maximum. For laundry per day, Santa Monica is $1 a day, West Hollywood $2, Alameda $1. Beverly Hills, Pasadena, they don't have any laundry accommodations, and LA County $5. The city of Inglewood, we're proposing $2 a day. For storage, Santa Monica pays the tenant storage up to 30 days. West Hollywood does not accommodate for storage. Culver City pays tenant storage during the construction. Alameda, they pay all of tenants' storage costs. Beverly Hills does not provide storage. Pasadena, They pay all of tenant storage if personal property must be moved. LA County pays tenant storage up to 90 days. And the city of Inglewood is proposing pay all of tenant storage if personal property must be moved. Finally, we have the payment distribution. So again, for the first 30 days, the owner is responsible for paying a per diem rate plus incidentals to the tenant. The tenant is responsible for paying their rent. For days 31 through 90, the owner is responsible for paying the rent differential payments, and I'll explain that in a moment, plus incidentals to the tenant. The tenant is not responsible for paying rent. And rent differential payment, what that is basically, rent differential payment for the month. What that basically is the fair market rent minus the contract rent. So for example, currently the fair market rent for a 2-bedroom is $2,544. Let's say the contract rent is $2,000, then the rent differential payment would be $544, plus any incidentals that would be owed to the tenant. That's how the rent differential formula works up here. Okay. Payments are basically calculated daily and paid at least weekly from the owner to the tenant. After day 91, again, the owner would be eligible to petition the board to change the tenant's temporary relocation status to permanent relocation status. We would prefer that the board look at those cases on a case-by-case to determine, if further construction is needed, or is this an owner that's trying to lag things out and come up with a loophole to get rid of tenants, but something that the board can determine on a case-by-case once we get kind of close to the 90-day mark, that an owner can petition to say, no, we want to move to permanent relocation. Here we just have some statistical information. These are the hotels that were surveyed or researched, the 3+ star hotels within that 10-mile radius in the form. So that's just informational for you guys of where we derived the average of the 178, which didn't seem to be too far off from the GSA total. And again, just informational data here with regards to the pet hotels within a 10-mile radius of the form, the center of Inglewood, of how we came up with the average for the pets, because we are in the city of Inglewood. So what would these owners really be? We wanted to get kind of close to the accurate data of, what they would have to, if they wanted to house their pets. So this is where the average came from, based on this data here. And so now that concludes the presentation, and floor is open for questions.
Ms. Watson, I had a quick question.
Sure.
If we agree on the GSA rate,
Yes.
would we be required to come every year, or are we just going to assume whatever the GSA rate is that year, so we don't have to bring back the rate every year and leave that as standard?
Correct. So the rates are renewed from the GSA each October.
Right, so if we go with the GSA, we don't have to bring these items back because we're just going to always honor what the GSA rate is.
Yes, with the GSA, but even if he chose option 2, we would renew that data every October. So we would do our internal, and I don't think you have to come back to vote on that if it's written in a way that we're going with that rate and it's renewed every October as well.
Right, and that's what I'm trying to get to. So you don't have to, if we go with the GSA is this rate this year, and that's what it is, right?
Correct.
Okay, I just
Yes.
clarify that.
Yes.
Has anybody looked at the numbers for a week and per month for just housing 4 people?
In what accommodations? Because again, we looked at the hotel rates.
A hotel rate of 182, lodging, I think it was 76 or something like that. The dogs are 68, they can have 2 dogs and laundry. That'd be $10 a day for 4 people.
Again,
Anybody look at the numbers?
So,
Yeah.
so the laundry rate the hotel rate is per household. The meal is per person. So if
Okay.
it wouldn't be $10 a day for laundry, it would be, what is it, $1?
$1 a day, or
$1
whatever,
a
if they
day
come up with
for
$2
the
a day or
household.
$1 a day.
For the household.
For the household, yes.
Okay, taking that, let's just get rid of the household. Anybody look at how much it'll be per 1 month?
It all depends, because that's why we're here. You have to determine a per diem rate and go from there. That's why it's separated like this.
Again.
Based on per diem, that will go to the household. Then you add these separate items, the incidentals, and then you can come up with how much it would be. And that's one of the purposes that we're here, so we can get clarity and clear guidance of what these numbers are.
Let me
That's
give
the
you a-
purpose for today.
Let me give you a ballpark figure. We're looking at almost $20,000 per month.
It wouldn't be per month, because again, we're saying if you look at the time frames, and that's why I think I would suggest that we go topic by topic so it can all come together. Right now, what's being proposed, and you guys have the free reign to discuss, we're saying for the first 30 days, it's per diem or comparable housing. So if you have a place, another apartment that they can stay in, you wouldn't be paying per diem. You would be offering another place. Days 31 through 90, you're not paying a per diem. We're offering rent differential. So that varies for people. If you are an owner who has contract rents and you're at fair market rent, with your rents, your rent differential, you might come out not paying anything, versus another owner who their contract rents are kind of low, then they're going to have to pay a little bit of something because the FMR is this rate, and then their rents are this low, so there's something to pay. So there's a range there, and so that's why you're talking about the time frames. So that's what we're here to discuss, and you guys decide today.
So let me see if I understand this. If your rents are low and not at fair market rent, when you temporarily relocate people, you have to pay the difference?
So that's what rent differential. So let me go back.
So you're punishing the people that have low rents?
Not punishing, but again.
It seems like it.
Here are the, so again, here are the timeframes. First 30 days, then you have 31 through 90 and 90s. And again, this is just a presentation, and we're here for you guys to discuss, and these are the type of
Just
things for
Trying
you
to get a
guys
good
to.
understanding.
Yeah, so so it won't go into like 60, 90 days of you having to pay a per diem rate. After that 30 days, you can offer the rent differential payment. And so that you're not coming up with a constant, like if the per diem rate is $175 or $200 a day, you know,
Yeah, but
Only stuck with the per diem for the first 30 days.
correct.
After the 30 days, it's no longer per diem, and now you're going to have the rent differential pay.
Correct.
Then after the 90, then you're in a whole different bracket.
You're eligible to petition to you guys, to the board, so then the case by case, you guys can make a determination on what the facts are on whatever that particular case is.
After a month, you've already been stuck with $20,000.
So
Yeah,
let
it
me-
depends
let
on
me-
what's being displaced,
let
because
me-
you might have
Let
insurance.
me answer. I'm not sure how you're getting $20,000.
Here,
Because let's go with the 182 for lodging. Let's just do lodging only.
that's going to be about 5,046,
Yes, $5,000.
460.
62 to be exact. Yes,
Okay,
5460. Correct.
5460.
Yes.
Okay,
So how is that $20,000?
he's going to eat, right?
Okay.
You're going to pay him,
So
right?
so
Four
you
people.
so you have one. So you do have, if we're offering alternative housing, then you're not paying per diem. For instance, your unit is the one you're displaced, but then you have a vacant unit in the property. You can move the tenant in there, and you don't have to pay anything.
Most
but
of us
in the-
don't have vacant property.
In the instance that we have a lot of units that have properties with vacant units, but in the instance that you have to pay temporary relocation, then this is what staff is proposing.
Understand?
But it's what staff is proposing.
Understand?
You
But
guys
my
can,
question is, does staff look at how much it is?
yes, and
So
staff.
I
and-
asked the question already before, how much is it per month? And nobody
Well,
gave me a
because it would
number.
vary. It would based on the makeup of the household. It would, if you have a person that's, one person in a household, two people? Are there children?
Average at 4.
Four, 2 adults, 2 kids.
This is it. And then 2 dogs, just to be fair.
Then
You're looking at about $20,000.
okay.
So to me, right now, the first thing I would do is I would get rid of them, offer them $10,000 so they can leave.
As an owner, you have the option to buy them
Understand.
out.
But see, this doesn't help the tenant because then he may not be able to get anything, and I still get screwed for $20,000. Now the reasoning for it too is if the government tells you got to go, I pay for you to go.
If the government is telling you that a tenant cannot live in the unit, it's probably because the unit is not safe or it's not. For instance, we had a fire. The fire was of no fault of the tenant. As an owner, you have certain insurances. And so therefore, you have a tenant paying rent, living there. Something happens to their unit, the owner is responsible to move them out.
Understand?
So then if the thought of paying $20,000 a month for one household is a bit much, then it's up to you as a board to come to some type of medium and instruct staff on what you want. If you look at other cities, we're right in line with other cities our size.
There's a lot of NAs up there.
A lot of who?
NAs, not applicable.
It was only a few. It wasn't a lot. It was a few. All of them have a per diem rate for lodging and food.
Correct.
It's the pet accommodations and laundry and storage. It's the incidentals where your NAs come.
So you might want to start with the per diem. And
For
instead of-
lodging.
For lodging. Start there. That's
And so what staff did was they took the center of the city, which is a forum, and went 10 miles out, did 3+ star hotels, and then averaged out the daily rates for those hotels. And as you see, they're pretty much in line with what the GSA is. However, you don't have to use it.
Sure.
I'm not sure because I think I would have to go with the GSA because they've probably did some formulations. I'm just off the top of my head. I don't know what I would actually charge a tenant per diem. That's per day, right? Per day.
It's per diem per person or just?
It's-
No,
Per
per
diem
household.
for the
Household.
per household.
Okay. Hotel room.
So the average hotels is about
Correct.
is
That-
about
The
that
$178. Yeah.
Especially here in England.
And then you have the details in the back of the hotels that were researched to come up with the $178. If you look at the,
How do the insurance companies look at this? I mean,
they'll reimburse you.
Companies wouldn't get involved until if there was.
well, I mean, if I have a fire at my unit that caused other tenants to be displaced, I had a fire at my unit. Luckily, nobody else got displaced. The tenant caused the fire, so I didn't have to do anything for her. But if she almost burnt down the unit. If she had to burn down other units, I'm hoping that my insurance is going to pay for relocation for the other people. Is that in line with this, or would they pay, or we don't know?
Or would that be in their
So
policy?
your tenant that almost burned your unit down would be do nothing.
Yeah,
But
no,
for the other ones, if your insurance pays for those tenants for their displacement, it would be you getting it on the back end because you would be responsible for putting them up. And so what staff did was they had the payment in the first 7 days. So I'm not coming up with $20,000 by day 3. You owe them a payment within the first 7 days. And then you get to pay weekly. Now, I know there were some cities where it was you get to estimate how long they're going to be out, and then you cut them a check then. But for this one, no. So every week, you would make a payment until your unit is back up where the tenant can live in there. And if it exceeds 90 days, then they petition you guys to say, this is going to last longer. I'd rather just pay them to go.
Can we just pay them to go in the first place? Yeah.
That's not how the ordinance is written.
No.
No. Now, let me say this.
Water-
There is nothing that stops an owner for offering a buyout to a tenant for whatever reason, right? But that buyout can't be less than what they would get for permanent relocation anyway. So, I mean, you can offer a buyout agreement, but there's nothing in the ordinance that says a tenant has to accept it.
Yeah.
And I would suggest look at the range. I mean, what if there's a water leak, uh, you know, and that's not major damage. That's just something they're displaced for 7 days until the plumber comes in and is able to make repairs. So there's a wide range of why a tenant may be displaced. We understand fires, that's something major, but there's several ranges
So,
and
I mean-
reasons of why a tenant may be displaced from their unit temporarily. Again, this is temporary relocation. If I'm a tenant paying my rent, I'm paying for a unit to be housed in, and something happens that's not in my control for my health and safety reasons, and I'm displaced, the ordinance says that the owner is responsible for temporary relocation. So you guys are here to determine and what is that per these different items.
And what is why are we paying for meals?
Because according to the ordinance, if the temporary rental accommodation lacks like cooking facilities, then you have a meal allowance. So again,
Determines where they stay, or you said that if so you're saying a hotel somewhere or
correct. Yeah, you have a per diem, or you can offer a comparable accommodations. So if we have owners who have offered another apartment for them to stay in, you're not paying any incidentals because that apartment will have the kitchen. It'll have that.
what
You're
I'm
not
asking
having to
though
do any
is
of that.
the tenant goes out and finds the hotel that they want to stay in, or the owner goes out and rents a hotel for them, or I mean,
These are
who
things
determines these things?
These are things for you guys to discuss. That's why we're here. So, I mean, you have things where you can decide because you do have things to consider, such as a radius. So, for instance, you might, something may happen and you might have an apartment in Long Beach. Well, the tenant might not take that because it's outside of their radius. If they go to work here, if their children have to go to school here, and you want to offer a comparable unit in Long Beach, that's outside the thing.
And if you accept to the GSA rate of 182, you're paying them that. Wherever they choose to go is wherever they choose to go. So
Correct.
if the rent is higher or lower.
Correct.
You're still at
Yeah,
the
but I
flat
mean,
rate of
okay, so
182.
you pay them the rate 182, and they like, I'm gonna go here, and there's no cooking accommodations, so you need to kick in for the meals, and they don't take dogs, so now you got to kick in for the dogs, and it's
Hopefully you find someone.
But let me just say you lodging is a given, right? But you can decide that the individual meal rate per person is $35 a day, whether you're an adult or a child. You can decide, like I think it was Beverly Hills or the county or something, that you don't even want to do a pet accommodation. You guys,
yeah,
that's
I don't do pet.
that's not that you're just one of five, but
Yeah,
if you
but-
guys as a collective decide that you don't want to do pet accommodations or laundry or storage, you can decide no, but you have to establish lodging and meals. The other incidentals, and to that point, you also decide how much you want to give for each. So if you want to
Over here.
leave lodging per diems, right, at $100 a day, then that's what it is. And they would have to find some place to stay for $100 a day and or kick in for whatever else you do not cover.
See, many places have.
Yeah, well, that's what I was kind of getting at. There's some places that do have suites where you can have a kitchen, and so how do I determine, like, where they go? They can go to Embassy Suites where they have a microwave and a refrigerator. Does that cover or they got to have a full kitchen?
Microwave are not cooking accommodations.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's those?
Some of them do
Stay
have flat
housed.
tops, yes. So if, for instance, if I went to over there by the airport behind the tracks. They have a kitchen where I can cook a full course meal. Then the only thing you would be responsible for is lodging, not the food.
What are they
The
eating?
way it's
Filet mignon?
proposed.
But that's your incentive to get them back in for your 30-day per diem.
We didn't have an incentive to get them out.
Evidently, something was wrong with the unit.
Whatever reason, a war or whatever, am I gonna be responsible for it?
But that becomes legal, and that's not because there's a plumbing issue or a
Oh,
fire.
no, yeah, well, you know.
So this is primarily for something went bad in the unit and they gotta move out or leave temporarily until it can get fixed. Because the
Yes.
place is uninhabitable.
Yes, and it is nothing to say that it's going to even last 30 days.
No.
Well, yeah, it would never last. I would never allow that. I wouldn't make that.
And that's more
But-
the incentive to get them
Yeah.
back in, and so we set,
But I don't understand paying for their food, so to speak, I would say.
I don't know.
I don't pay for anybody's food.
okay, well, let's just start first with the per diem.
Okay.
And then, because we're going to go individually. 'cause
We're
it's-
saying per diem. So per diem means by the day. So all of it would be a per diem. So start with lodging.
Lodging, I'm sorry,
Lodging.
that's what I meant. We'll start with the lodging. So, is there a motion for the lodging per diem rate? Okay, I'll go ahead and, I'll make a motion to follow the GSA rate for the lodging of 182 or whatever. It goes up every year, or if it goes down, we'll honor that for the lodging.
I second.
Madam Secretary?
Okay, Board Member Evans? Goso, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry. Board Member Hamilton?
Just for the 182 per night?
so, no, here's what the same rate, talk about, GC dating, 74 per person, 13. There you go, right here. Isn't this what you're going by?
But we're just talking about the housing right now, right? The per diem rate for housing
Yes, for lodging,
at 182 per night.
based on what the GSA,
Oh, I'm gonna, current average hotel price is 178. I'm gonna say no.
Board Member Fregoso?
No,
Board Member Evans?
Yes.
Board Member Brown?
Can I ask a question before I vote, Madam Chairman?
go ahead.
The 182, okay, say that you found a hotel for less than that amount. Say the hotel room was like 174, would that be the rate they would give you? It had to be 182. Okay. I say yes.
Chairperson Heaney?
Yes. Okay, next one is M1.
Approval of the minutes of the meeting held on,
No, I'm
wait,
sorry.
I did that
I'm
one.
sorry. Sorry.
So it's three,
Okay.
right? Yeah, three.
So now we're going to go through each one.
So now you need to establish meal.
The meals, okay. So now we have a discussion for the proposed per diem rates for meals. The GSA is 74. The average has been 37 with all the different municipalities.
74 for adults, 37 for persons 12 and under.
That's the GSA rates. Okay.
Question. Oh,
Go ahead.
With regards to the amount for the child, was it
So we're talking about meals.
right?
Okay, so the GSA sets two rates. For adults, 74, and 37 for children. What is your question?
There's a huge difference in terms of $74 for an adult meal and $37 for a child.
Correct. And these rates are set already, and that's what we're voting on. Do you want to set your own rate, or do you want to honor what the GSA, the General Services Administration, offers and is used everywhere? Is kind of what they're, okay.
I propose we go to $40 a meal per day.
$40 per adult or person?
Per person, per day.
So $40 for an adult and $40 for a child.
Yes. There's some children that need more than the adults, so we know that. Need to go into that, but you leave it at that. I got a small little granddaughter that eats hell.
So I,
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner? This is breakfast, lunch, daily.
It's daily, yes,
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
daily.
Yeah.
So
and keep in mind that if we do a specific amount every year, we're going to have, or is it per year, we're going to have to come
you know,
and
it would stay that rate until you guys instruct
it up
staff to
again.
change it. Yes.
unless we do the GSA rate, which it will be whenever they increase, it increases.
Right.
Okay, I just want to make sure everybody understands.
So right now, there's a motion by Board Member Fregoso that is $40 per person per day for a meal. He needs a second.
I'll second it.
Madam Secretary?
Board Member Hamilton,
Yes.
There you go.
Board Member Fregoso,
Yes.
Board Member Evans,
No.
Board Member Brown,
No.
Chairperson Heaney.
No.
So why do you guys want us here if it's just gonna be like this?
No,
You know,
It doesn't necessarily have to be like that.
No, but
two out of two. That's bad batting average. It's almost like the 49ers.
Don't do that. We'll talk about that after the meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
okay, but 40, because you were saying $40 per day for 3 meals, just one meal is $35
mhm.
nowadays. I mean, I just had lunch and it was $20.
Yeah, I mean, I can go and tip $40. So, I mean, you can go in as high as you want.
Well, that's why there's standards by to follow, and the
Understand.
most would be 74 at this year, based on the cost of living.
Yes.
Understand?
But
And there's no place you can go to and get a decent meal or a breakfast for less than $10.
Great. I'm not arguing. I mean, you can go wherever you want to go. You know, I use the per diem, okay? I had the experience when you travel and the government pays you. I mean, you know, you go to steakhouse, wherever they had the biggest cow. But, you know, that was just out of the ability that they will give us.
But you had a limit. You could have gone to that steakhouse, had a big piece of steak, but you were only given by your agency, an example, $60, that you chose to go to the steakhouse for 120, you paid the
Correct.
difference, right?
Yeah, but next day you just spend a little less, and guess what? It all fitted within per diem. So,
Absolutely.
so the system is played. I'm just saying, if you ask me how much, that's how much I would say.
I would say 60 at least.
Going once, going twice. Okay.
We still need a consensus for the meal allowance. So $40 was voted upon, and
We had the whole process, and that's why I went up to.
gotcha. Is there another motion?
I move that we at least do 60 per person, and maybe children 40.
Okay, so that's, so $60 per adult, $40 per child, which is technically a $20 difference from what you said.
Let's go to 50, yeah.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay, there we go. Vote.
Board Member Hamilton,
Yes.
Board Member Fregoso,
No.
Board Member Evans, Board Member Brown,
Yes.
Chairperson Heaney.
No.
Wow.
I'll make a motion to continue with the GSA rates. They're based on the cost of living. They separate an amount for children, they separate amount for adult, and that's what it is. Do I have a second?
I second.
Madam Secretary?
Board Member Hamilton,
Um, ye- Yes.
Board Member Fregoso.
No.
Board Member Evans, Board Member Brown,
Yes.
Chairperson Heaney.
Yes.
I'm still lost on the fact that we have to pay for the meals, though. Because we didn't establish, like, you pay them the per diem for lodging. If they pick the right place, then I don't have to pay meals, right? Or who gets to pick is what I'm trying to understand.
Right now, nobody, but they just get the money. They can spend up to that amount of money.
Okay, our next one,
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Who hit, so if there is, so, let's call her bars. Amari, can you bring up the list of the hotels, please? And all those hotels are within, a 10-mile radius of the center of the city, right? And so, fairly local. I don't know how many are actually in the city of Inglewood because I don't think we had any. However, we did. We had a. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, we also looked for, I think because it's like extended stay that has the one that has the kitchens in it. And so that's what led us to look about, well, how many extended stays are around? And that's how we wanted to really see, well, how, in a 10-mile radius, what hotels do we offer? And there are no extended stays. So this is pretty much the pool around within a 10-mile radius. No?
Okay. Anyway, we voted on the 74.
You wanted to say?
It's done, right?
I was going to say that I, because at this point, we're trying to establish policy, right? And if the hotel, if you know of a hotel that's in, let's just say within, our point is 10 miles, right? That's within 10 miles, that's at least a 3-star hotel, and it has cooking facilities. You know, would you say that an owner could choose that hotel for their tenant, and then they'll only be responsible for lodging? I mean, it's this temporary relocation assistance is board created. We're telling you based on the ordinance, you have to do it. And so we're here to formulate a resolution that is that encompasses the wishes of the board. I don't know that I would, me personally, want to pay, if I know it's a hotel within 10 miles that has the facilities, I offer you this hotel because it has it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. If there's a place where they can stay where I can avoid paying the additional, because I didn't pay for their meals when they were living in my apartment. So I'm figuring like, why would I pay for their meals just because they got displaced?
so could we add, I'm sorry, could we add to the ordinance that if we give you the lodging of 182 and the hotel that you go to has the kitchenette or whatever we need to suffice, that we don't have to give them the meals?
That's a given anyway.
Mhm.
If it has something where they can prepare meals, you do not owe them.
So then we're back to that.
So how do we know? How does that happen?
You can check.
I got, I give you the money and then, and
Are we gonna require that they let the owners know?
where they're gonna stay at, or
Mhm.
whatever.
How about the owners tell them where they can go?
Yeah, we have had seen cities where the owner has the option, the tenant doesn't have the option to necessarily refuse, like if they offer comparable housing and they say, no, I don't want it, then the owner has met their obligation of offering, comparable housing. I just lost my train of thought about the meals. What was I gonna say?
Sometimes they even go by themselves and find a better place and you have to pay for it.
Or maybe you guys make it a requirement that if they are asking for the additional meal allowance that they, if that they prove that it doesn't have it, and then you say, well, if you're staying over here, well, or you offer the hotel that does have it, and you know that they have it.
Or they could provide
You're
receipts that
you're
state
providing-
where they're staying at. And
It's a must, 'cause
All open for discussion for you guys. Maybe put the stipulation that they have to provide proof that it doesn't have it, and if not, or if you're offering a place that you know that you have a hotel that has these accommodations, then you're offering the comparable housing for them. You're offering them housing.
They have the right to refuse, right?
So, but
Well, you guys have these are things for you to discuss. Now, what I would offer for consideration is, again, the radius. Now, if you find a hotel and it's in Long Beach, does the tenant have a right to refuse the accommodations because my children go to school right here and I work right here and I don't have transportation? Those are things for you guys to vote on. Does a tenant have a right to refuse if it's outside 15-mile radius, or, you pick something like that? Or another thing to think about that comes up is disabilities. We have seen tenants who may refuse. An owner might have an apartment, but if the apartment's on the 8th floor and you're talking about a senior who can't walk upstairs because they had hip surgery or they're in a wheelchair, that might be a reasonable refusal to the accommodations because of a disability. So these are
if you
things,
have an elevator,
again, things for you guys to consider in who, does a tenant have a right to refuse? If so, what are the parameters for that? We have seen cities that the owner has the choice, and it's not the tenant's choice to say, well, no, I want the money, and no, I'm not taking the comparable housing. We've seen where they can't do that. If the owner offers comparable housing and they don't take that, then the owner has fulfilled their obligation in offering the temporary relocation, and they don't have to pay the per diem. So
Yeah.
these are things for you guys to.
yeah. What if they take the money
Consider.
and go stay at their sister house or something?
No, you need to have receipts, because the receipts is a basis for getting your payment, either from the insurance,
Insurance
yeah,
co-
from
yeah.
the insurance.
And writing it off, if nothing
Exactly.
else.
You are gonna write it off.
Mm-hmm.
so in this meeting, can we just set the rates for the lodging meals in case, assuming that the lodging they're staying at had no kitchen, the per diem for meals, and then after visit, what is it that you're gonna require in order for it to be able to have the meals or allowance? Can we at least?
Thought we
move-
already did.
We already did.
Right, but I'm saying, at a later point, bring in the stipulations on when they get the meals or per diem.
We can preface that and put it for, if you accept the facility we're offering you, it has the ability to, you have the ability to cook. Problem is, most people ain't cooking nowadays, but that's a different story.
Okay, so we're done with lodging and we're done with meals. Can we move to pet accommodations?
Are we gonna preface it or not?
Well, we already voted on the GSA
So
rate.
the two that you just voted on was the per diem for lodging and a per diem for meals. Go through the other ones, and then as a board, you can decide that we want to be specific as to when this is done and when, because all that matters, because it has to be included in your resolution. So go ahead and finish the other per diem accommodations, and then you can have the discussion on how you want the stipulations to which the per diems are paid out.
Sounds good. So I make a motion that we have no pet accommodations.
I second that motion.
Was I supposed to do that?
No, you did
Madam
right.
Secretary?
Board Member Hamilton,
I support my motion, yes. Yes.
Board Member Fregoso,
Yes, no
Board
dog.
Member Evans,
Yes.
Board Member Brown,
This has been approving no accommodations, right?
No accommodations for pets. They have to find their own.
Yes.
Chairperson Heaney.
Yes.
Works.
Laundry allowance?
No.
I would make a motion that we do not provide laundry allowances.
Second the motion. Their laundries, I mean, their washing machines in place.
So the laundry, the laundry allowance is technically for tenants who have washer and dryer inside their personal unit, not the ones that have to go downstairs and wash, like
In
wash.
the laundry room.
Yeah, thank you, in the laundry room. So are you still doing no accommodations?
No?
Okay,
I mean, you got a hotel, they got a laundry room where you can go wash.
But you gotta.
okay,
It's within the same facility, right? You don't have to go outside, it's right there.
gotcha.
But for 6, I go no.
Number 5.
Huh?
Number 5, laundry.
No, number 5? No, that's established per diem for laundry
Yeah.
services.
And we just,
I propose we say no. I motion that we do
I
not.
think I did that already, yeah.
Seconded.
You seconded.
Okay,
I
fine.
said it, and you
I
seconded.
thought we're still with the cats, but
Go ahead.
now with the dogs, all right?
Board Member Hamilton,
I support, yes.
Board Member Fregoso,
I agree not to have the laundry.
Mr. Board Member Fregoso votes yes. You
No.
vote yes.
Yes on the no.
Yes on the no, yes.
Yes on the no. Hello?
Board Member Evans,
I'm sorry. Yes, on the
Yes,
no.
you gonna say yes on the no?
You guys better be clear. Lord.
I'm clear, yes.
Board Member Brown,
I think there needs to be a stipulation in there because of the fact that, say you're in a hotel and they may not have laundry facilities and you have to go outside of the hotel to wash,
And
then
your
I am
vote is no.
voting no.
Chairperson Heaney.
No.
Ayes have it.
Storage allowance?
I propose no. If the garage burned down, maybe, but no.
Second that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. I just want clarification on this, so we all understand.
Yes.
If I am displacing my tenant and I'm asking them to move everything because they had to fix the ceiling, they can't take their stuff to a hotel. Correct?
Right.
So,
And here are the best practices from other cities. So here you have Santa Monica pays the tenant storage up to 30 days. Culver City pays storage during the construction. Alameda pays all of the tenant storage. Beverly Hills doesn't have it. They probably. Pasadena pays all the tenant storage if personal property must be moved, and LA County pays it up to 90 days. Those are what some of the surrounding cities do.
okay, I just want to make sure everybody was clear on that. So the motion on the floor is no,
No.
No storage.
and then, okay, so, I'm sorry, go ahead, Madam Secretary.
Board Member Hamilton,
Yes.
Hold on, we just said no on that one.
No, we said
Second.
yes.
On the.
Yes on the no.
You're yes on the no. Thank you.
Yes on the no. That's what we said.
Oh, you already yesed it?
No, we already did it. We said no storage. And
Correct.
I'm voting yes on no storage.
So
Board Member Fregoso.
yes on the no.
Board Member Evans.
Yes, on the no.
Board Member Brown.
No on the no.
Chairperson Heaney.
No. So I have a question.
Yes.
Is there going to be stipulation on now that that there's been a vote that we're not paying for the tenant storage? Are we going to add something into the ordinance as to how we're going to accommodate, or we can't ask them to remove their stuff, or are we going to be able to
So-
discuss that in future?
Of course. Of course you can discuss it in the future. So where it is now, you guys have selected the per diem rate for lodging based on GSA figures for lodging and food. Um, mm, I wrote it all down.
No pets, no.
No pet accommodations, no laundry, no storage. That's where you guys are now. So now do you want to discuss, as Amari stated, the payments for when you have to pay temporary relocation. And our ordinance says that it has to be done within the first 15 days, so it can't be drawn out. And so staff is recommending that the first payment happens within the first 7 days of the person being displaced, with the tenant being displaced. And then weekly thereafter.
So.
I have a
Madam
question.
Chairperson, I have a question. So you're saying that for the first 7 days, the tenant is responsible for that payment until they get it from the owner, correct?
I'm saying that within the first 7 days, the owner must pay the tenant.
Oh, okay, so.
Yes.
So,
Yes, why are we doing it weekly?
I think it might be a hardship for some owners to come up with a lump sum of money
Okay.
to just pay it.
it's not gonna get any better in a week, though.
You want to hope so, and
And-
it may not be something that's going
Long
to
term.
require more than a week or a week and a half.
Yeah, well, my question was, yeah, okay, we got to fix if I got to fix you something and you're temporary relocated, it's gonna be fixed in 2 days or 3 days at the max.
That is,
And so, how does that work in that case? And then, are you saying we have to pay them in 7 days, or?
At least,
Uh-huh.
at least. So if they're only going to be gone for 3 days and then you give them the hotel for the 3 days, then that's fine. If you have another apartment for them to stay housed in, the hotel is probably more practical than another hotel,
Yeah, because
than another
if I
room.
have another
But,
unit, then I'm not a good landlord because I'm not renting my units.
Yeah,
That's a no.
yeah. But that's the incentive to get
But
the
I'm, yeah,
repairs
no,
done in a
definitely
timely
the
manner. So
incentive
yeah,
is
you would
to,
just.
that you're paying anything is an incentive.
if you and your contractors
And just,
estimate
my
that,
incentive is if you're displaced, I'm not a slumlord. It's not like I don't care, but I'm not trying to put myself in that situation.
You're going to do your best not to get them out for the first 30 days.
I'm gonna do my best so they don't have to go nowhere, anywhere, period. You know what I mean?
And that's the purpose of this too. Okay, so can we motion up the 7th day, by the 7th day to make their first payment?
Well, but if they're only there 3 days, then you just give them but you're saying I have to give it to them within 7 days.
Correct.
So they went to the hotel for 3 days, they came back, and then we paid them a few days later.
is if it's within 7 days,
Within the 7 days, yeah.
But that's still making the tenant pay the money up front.
it might happen anyway. If I'm displaced because of a fire and I have to go get a hotel room, the owner would still have to pay me. So, unless I'm missing something.
But
They have
say,
to pay within the first 7 days,
but
right?
I'm saying,
that's just
suppose you
being
got
proposed.
displaced and you had to go to a hotel,
Mhm.
but you may not have the money
That's true.
to go into that hotel.
That is true.
So what I'm asking is then, does the owner need to pay that up front so that I can get a hotel room?
No, not the way it's written now.
Well,
No.
this is what open for discussion, right? Because isn't that what they can decide and say, if you want them to pay it, that's what's on the floor to discuss.
Because of the fact that
Be-
a lot of people say you don't have $150 to go into a hotel right then.
So
Because-
so while I'm
Hotels?
here, let me play devil's advocate because I can be an owner and say I don't have it either. I
But-
just know that the way it's written, if it's adopted the way it's written, within the first 7 days, I have to come up with the payment.
You have to
Well,
understand
but
too,
it
when
is-
you go to a hotel, they don't charge you till the end of your stay. They'll maybe take a deposit, right? So if you're there 2, 3 days, you don't pay till your last stay when you leave.
The problem lies is that they don't pay you until 7 days after. I would
Up
tend to
to
say,
7 days.
yeah, but still, you're gonna be in the hole for about what, 3, 4 days? And it's like you
What-
say, we work with people that don't have
Credit.
the money, thank you, and all
They
that
might not
kind
even
of
be able to
stuff.
get a hotel room because they don't have a credit card.
That's what
We're,
I'm
we're
saying.
talking tenants.
Yeah,
Yeah,
now we're being
Okay.
sympathetic.
You are. This is why I'm have to
I know, it's
question.
all right, I'm going
But that's
nuts
what I'm
here, but-
saying. You may not have the money to go into a hotel. Say you don't have a credit card, or like I say, you don't have, and some, like you said, some hotels require a deposit. They may not have that deposit. So,
Be better off for me to take them and get the room.
Yeah,
and
and
That's
put
what
it
I
on
was
my
gonna
card.
just say that.
You're sure what they gain.
Yeah.
yeah,
Because
and
sometimes
then
they
you're
may get
sure
something
the
more than
the
that.
amount of money.
Mhm.
Will do that. That's nice on your part, but.
But
will all
instead of
owners
giving
do
the
that?
lodging, the per diem, you would just go and purchase, instead of giving them the $182 per day, you would go ahead and go directly to the hotel and pay that 182 to the hotel. We could put it in writing there in case the tenant doesn't have the credit or a credit card.
And so let's say they or we go down there. You don't have the tenant doesn't have the means to get the room. I say, okay, I'm gonna go down here and I'll put my card down and get the room for you and pay for it. Can I just pay for the room and not the 182
Mm-hmm.
if it's less than 182 even?
Yes.
And that it covers.
Well,
Yes, as long, yes, because if it's, and I think you guys should do a stipulation that it must be 3+ stars up.
That's fine.
Okay,
yeah.
you're right.
We're
But
not gonna
if,
put them in Roach Motel.
that's what I'm asking, but
But if their house is roach nasty already,
Okay, yeah.
That's why it's being
but
shut down.
if,
So true, my man.
but if the owner decides that he wants to take them to La Quinta or whatever, I don't know, and it's 150, and you know they're going to be out of the room for 3 days, and you put those 3 days on your card, as far as I'm concerned, you satisfied it. But you guys have to make
so how do
that
we make that?
stipulation.
How do we do that?
yeah.
You
Well, that's a
ta- you-
stipulation I wanted to put down there.
That's why we're having this conversation.
know.
So you direct staff that an owner has the, but so then you have to consider this. You stated it was a 3+ star hotel, and it has to be within 10 miles of the city. The center of the city is a forum. And then does the,
Not exceed $182.
okay, not exceed $182. And does the tenant have the right to refuse?
If they refuse, then they get nothing, right?
You already offered it up.
Why
as-
would they refuse?
They wouldn't refuse because you're
You-
going
you-
down there with them,
You
put them
would-
in a
you would-
3-star
You
plus.
would be surprised.
Oh, yeah, because they want to take you to the cleaners.
Yeah, they
Can't
do.
live here, look at this. I said, what do you expect? And then they live in a roach house, right?
So can we
Everybody's
put the
like that.
stipulation for the lodging is if the owner pays the lodging and does not exceed the $182, that would be considered the per diem for lodging. So if he can get someone to pay the ones, if it's a 169 per day, and the owner pays it, then that's it. There's no difference between the 169 and 182. So if the owner pays, it's whatever the hotel is, not to exceed the 182. If the tenant pays, the lodging cannot exceed the 182 or whatever the GSA rate is.
If the
Meaning
tenant
that
pays,
the
it can't
tenant
go
can
over
choose the
182.
Right, I was
If
gonna
the
say
owner
that.
pays,
should
it probably
be-
doesn't matter.
shouldn't matter, yeah, I was gonna say that, if the
Yeah.
owner pays, because let's,
But I might put
Because
you in
you
the
don't
hotel
want
and
the
use
owner
points
to
or
pay
something.
more than $182.
I mean,
I mean, you got to make sure that
the owner wants.
you.
The owner's not gonna do that, trust me.
Right.
But that's why.
But
Don't put more
if
than
it's $184.50, the owner might not care. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Yeah, but
I think that stipulation should be if the tenant is coming out of pocket, that they don't have to, they won't get reimbursed for more than $182.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right.
yeah, because like you said, if you go into a hotel and maybe it's 150, but the
But it's
tenant
3
put-
stars,
okay,
and
yes,
it's within 10
yeah,
miles.
and the tenant puts up their money, pays the 150, but then when they have to collect from the owner, would they collect the 150 or the 182?
Receipt is the key to all of this. You need to provide receipts.
They
If you
sh-
have no
they should-
receipts, you didn't eat. If you didn't provide no receipts, then how can I pay you for what I can't get reimbursed?
So if the tenant has a hotel room and I come out of pocket and it's 150 a night, the owner still owes me 182.
No, that's not the way.
I'm
it works.
asking.
No.
No, we wanted,
So I have to, so we were saying for the tenant who was able to
Get their
provide
own
their
room.
own lodging up front.
Mhm.
Remember you said you were being empathetic or whatever. But I went and got my lodging up front, and you, as is now, you have to pay me lodging first 7 days. I have to turn around and give you a receipt for what I've already done? That's
Yes.
what you're saying? I'm asking.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying?
Yeah, because don't forget, everything is based on a receipt.
should it be up to 182?
Yeah, that's what it means.
Yeah.
Up to 182. I would be happier with that.
No, it's,
You can't, because then you're not setting an amount. It's either the amount of the GSA, which is that flat amount of 182, unless you, the owner, are paying.
Directly.
Correct. Because then you have to set a rate. It's not, it's either a set rate, which is the GSA of 182, unless
So
you, the owner,
can we
are
give the
gonna pay.
owner the choice on going out and providing the room?
That's what you said.
Yeah.
You want that you want that as an option.
Yes.
But we decided that it was a consensus that the owner is limited to 3+
3
star
stars,
hotels
within 10 miles.
within 10 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the thing is you can spend up to 183.
An owner can spend up to whatever they want.
True, but
But
per
the
diem
tenant
was-
can't go get a room that's 200 a night because you're only gonna be reimbursed for 182.
Yes.
So we have that
Whatever.
part. So there needs to be a motion specifically to the owner having an option to provide the lodging on their own.
I make a motion that the owner has the option to provide the hotel or
And
the
what about-
lodging,
What
whatever,
about the hotel?
within 10 miles,
And
at least 3 stars.
there you go.
I second the motion.
There you go.
Madam Secretary?
Board Member Hamilton,
Yes.
Board Member Fregoso,
Yes.
Board Member Evans,
Yes.
Board Member Brown,
But I want to ask a question. Now, you recommended, okay, this is the hotel I'm picking for you. But does the tenant have the right to say, no, that's not the one I want to go over here?
No, I already offered you where you need to go.
I mean, it's still a
They got the
3-star
right to do
within the
whatever they wanna do.
10-mile radius.
Well,
But if it's not, like, say, I don't want to go to the La Quinta, I want to go over here to this hotel over here. Is what you put me is where I have to go, or can I decide I want to go to this hotel?
no, once I provide you a place that I'm going to pay for, then there's where you're gonna go. Now, if you're gonna go get it yourself, you can go to the one you want. But if right now I'm offering you and you don't want it, I fulfill my responsibility. Is that the way?
Well, no, because
No.
we're giving them an allowance of 182 and they can go wherever they want.
Okay, if they want, okay, if I,
So, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. It is my understanding that if the owner uses the option to go and find a hotel room that meets 3 stars and 10 miles, and the tenant chooses not to stay there, then they've completed their obligations with offering lodging.
But what if, like she says, if what they just stated, that if she finds one that meets the same thing and she offers to pay it up front, can she get reimbursed for that?
So
It meets the same thing, 10-mile radius, it's not, it's less than 182. I don't wanna go to La Quinta, here's my receipt, I paid it up front. Here's my,
and for me, that's two separate things. If in the event a fire happens and Mr. Hamilton says, I'm gonna go here and put you up in a room so you're not coming off, you're not paying up front, that's different. But if Miss Brown paid up front and found her own hotel room, then you bring back the receipts and this is what I paid so far. Now, my thing is, if she's already at the, I don't know, Marriott, right? I don't want an owner to come back and say, no, I'm gonna put you at the La Quinta. She was already there. You see what I'm saying? So you guys have to iron that part out. If the owner offers a room before the tenant pays for a room, then you reimburse the tenant. But if the owner offers a room and then the tenant and the tenant refuses,
That's on them.
I say as a first choice, the tenant should have the say in terms of where they stay, as long as it meets the requirement of the 182.
I do too.
With the additional option that in the event that they cannot or don't have the credit card or whatever to do it themselves, the deposit, then the owner then will get the accommodations for that tenant because he's still or she's still responsible. 3-star, 182, the radius. Now, at that point, I'm beholden to the landlord, the owner. And now he's going to go and find something. Do I have to go with that or no? That's where I am with that because
and I think the
that's-
board members on the board
guys-
members 1 and 2 are saying you have to go with it if I'm doing it.
or she just
So
made
in,
another
in,
proposal.
in your scenario, if they have the ability to do it, then you're saying they get the right to do it. And if they don't have the ability to do it, then the owner needs to fulfill the requirement and offer a place. And they should be able to, they should have to take that. Because they don't have the ability to do it.
Offer
Right, and
a
then they
place
can't
or
refuse.
pay them the per diem, one or the other.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, go get the room, yeah.
Right, because we started talking about the owner purchasing the room because the tenant
Didn't
did
have the
not have
ability.
the credit.
Yeah.
that was
So
the premise we were going on.
that was how that started.
Mhm.
So the motion should be, it's 182 or the GSA rate per diem for lodging. If the tenant does not have the means, the owner can then go and reserve the room and pay the room up to $182 with the radius of
Miles.
the miles and that. For a second.
Because it could be the same hotel, right?
Could be.
The person just didn't have the credit,
Correct.
Yeah, they didn't have the credit and,
so he could go to the same hotel. Yeah.
but the owner should be, if the owner now has to do it though, he should be able to, find a place, right?
Well, why would he want to do that when the tenant has already found a place?
Okay,
They
that's,
just don't have the means to reserve it.
So let's also keep in mind, there's nothing stopping the owner and tenant, there's nothing stopping the owner say, go find a room. It has to be within 10 miles and it cannot exceed $182 per night. And once you find it, let me know. I'll come there and put the credit card and you could do it that way. It's nothing to stop the owner and the tenant from working together because some do. But if in the event a tenant is not able to secure a room on their own, and then the owner finds a place that meets the criteria, then I don't think the tenant should have a right to refuse it. But so now goes back to your question about the tenant having to come up with the funds to pay for a room and then get reimbursed on the back end.
Keeping in mind that the tenant paid rent on the first,
And then,
presumably.
and then there's that.
Yes. The tenant already came
Didn't pay
out,
rent.
the tenant already came out of their pocket whenever the rent was due in the beginning of the month. So they paid their money up front.
What if they didn't?
Yeah, but what if it didn't burn down? at the
That's a
beginning
whole
of the
nother
month?
road to 3-day pay or quits and eviction. So it's staying in this lane, keeping that in mind with Ms. Brown's concern is that, if I'm on a fixed budget and I've already paid my rent, and then you turn around and I get displaced for no fault of my own, the reason this discussion came up because of the weekly, in which you guys are free to say and add stipulations. So if I already pay my rent and then turn around and get displaced, it's on the onus is on me to come up with another money again. If I'm displaced for 3 days because you don't want to pay in 7 days, I have to come up with more money to pay for a hotel for 3 days and wait for you to pay me when I've already paid my fair market rent.
So in that case, then the owner should be able to get them a room.
We go find them a room and says, here's your room.
So I think that was Ms. Brown's point of having who's coming up with the money day 1, 2, and 3, when around this discussion of requirement to pay weekly, which I think that was just a guideline to say at the least. So you guys can add stipulations that, that speak to this, because keeping in mind, I've paid my, a tenant could have potentially paid their rent, so.
I say that if
ain't
the,
got
say the tenant doesn't have the means to put down the money, anyway, like I said, the owner comes and pays it, then yes, I think the owner should, but suppose you pick a hotel that's not comparable. I know it's in the 10-mile radius, but I found a hotel where my kids can go to school at. They can walk to school, but I found a hotel there. And I want to stay in this hotel, but you want to put me over here.
Well, you can stay wherever you want to stay if you got the means to do it.
But I'm saying if I don't have the means to do it, but I need
If you
to
don't
be
have the
in
means
the
to do it,
area.
and I step in and take care of you, then I should be able to choose, exactly. As long as I meet the criteria.
Exactly.
I think we lost where we're at,
Mhm.
because we're voting or trying to make a motion is, do we pay
I like,
seventh day?
I liked her suggestion. If the tenant can do it, they can have the choice. And if they can't do it, then it's on the owner. And the owner should have the choice.
Agree. Can I move it, or no, we're still voting on something?
But by the seventh day? Is that, and that's what I
Oh, you
think
mean,
is,
okay, so maybe it's two different things. Maybe we first need to establish that if the tenant has the ability and they want to go out and get their own room, then fine, they go do it. And they're limited to what we said, 182.
and by when do you have to pay the 182?
Well, that's what I was gonna say, it's a separate thing. And
If she's doing it, she's got to figure out how she's going to handle that. She gives us a receipt, we pay that receipt.
By how many days?
We were
It's
talking
7
about
days.
7 days, right?
Okay, and that's what we're trying to establish, by what, how many days?
But it's
So,
saying that that's the ordinance by the rule, that is by within 7 days that the owner has to pay.
well, we want to
This
create
is
the
what's,
rule.
these stipulations are what's gonna be included in your resolution. So it would be good to be
clear.
yes. So we're clear on lodging and meals.
I'm clear that's-
There are no pets,
Not
no
usually cold,
storage,
but it's cold up there.
no laundry, right? So we're all clear on that. Now, the next thing is, when do you pay? Who gets to pick the room? I think we also need to keep in mind that a lot of this also has to do with communication between a tenant and an owner. If Miss Brown had a fire in her unit and she found a hotel, and it might not even be 3+ stars, but she found a hotel that's right here by her kid's school that's $80 a day, and I tell you I found a room and it meets the money criteria, and for me it's convenient to be right here because my kids go to school, but I can't get it, then I would think the owner would be like, okay, I'll come down there and do it for you, right? But in the event that a tenant can't secure a room and the owner has to get it for them, I mean, because then we get in a thing of a tenant being like super picky, and we've seen that too. When the owner has gone above and beyond to satisfy what they're supposed to do as an owner, I'm in a mind frame of trying to be as equal and as fair as possible to tenant and owner. So if I have an owner that's doing everything they're supposed to do pursuant to our ordinance, pursuant to temporary relocation assistance, then the tenant needs to abide as well.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of where the department is. Like, try to find some kind of happy medium. A lot of this can be solved by communication, right? But if I'm out because of a fire and I don't have family, because remember, we have some owners that don't live in the city, so I don't know how they're going to be able to go get a room for someone.
Phone and a credit card.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no. They want me and my credit card there. Yeah. But I'm just, so though, but as owners, it's a different perspective. So as Mrs. Brown was stating, I think that issue that you brought up about the hotel is here because the kid's school is there, I think that's communication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also what you just said too, about like, say the owner lives out of town and they out of state or out of the city and they can't get down here to put you in a hotel room.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, say I go stay with my sister
Mm-hmm.
because I can't afford to go into a hotel on my own. I know I might be going off in
No,
another
you're not.
direction.
Because that
Does
is
the
also an
owner
option.
still have to give me that 182
Yes, they do.
for that night?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Yep.
Hold on a second.
Yes, they do.
So how are they gonna provide with a receipt?
Get a receipt from your sister.
You know what, in having used a per diem system, that doesn't work. If you go with, your relatives, that's a different story. The food, yes,
Mm-hmm.
you gotta eat, we ain't gonna work around that.
But so
lodging in
my
that case-
sister and her 2 kids come to stay with me. You are now making my water bill go up, my electric bill go up. No, you gonna pay me something.
182 though?
I don't know. It depends on how long you're staying, but I'm just saying. Well, again, that's for you guys to iron out. I mean, if I'm staying with a relative, if I stay with a relative, then, but it's not, you didn't put me up in comparable facilities. And so you're stating if I stay with a relative, I'm only due a food allowance.
But like you say, you're running up my water and electricity.
I think, I would think the board might consider a different type of per diem if, I could stay with a relative. Maybe not 182, maybe 75, I don't know. I'm just saying.
Then
Something.
It has a place to wash.
I have a place to wash, yes. So, I mean,
Not giving them laundry anyway.
right. So, those are things. Now,
So how can we sort this out and get out of here?
Okay. If they cannot provide receipts because they stayed at a location and they're staying at family, set an amount of $75.
I'll second that.
Per day.
I don't know where I got the
it's per day,
Yes.
per diem, okay.
Well,
Go ahead.
I was just trying to see, you were on a roll, Mr. Hamilton, where you were compromising with Ms. Brown, finishing that before we started the new lane. So it didn't sound like you guys finished that lane when you're like,
No,
you
we
liked
haven't.
what she
Where-
proposed, yeah,
One
so,
eighty-two.
It was the
Yeah.
wrong direction on that lane.
yeah, you,
You mean, letting the tenant decide first and then the owner
yeah, what Miss Evans had
said, yeah.
had said. You said you liked that, and seemed like you were a meeting of the minds there.
I said I could, go with that it was about who had the choice. So if the tenant can eh, if they can do it on their own, then they can do the choice, and we've already said it's 182, and it's within 10 miles and all that other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't, then and I have to do it, then I'm gonna do the same thing and find a hotel within 10 miles that's at least 3 stars, and and then but you can't then refuse it, right? If you refuse it, then you lose it. Yeah.
Club don't fit, don't
And then we'll add on to that, and if they don't stay at a hotel, it'll be a flat rate of $75 paid by the 7th day.
$75 per day.
Including meals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Meals has its own, we already have the per diem for.
No.
But I'm
No,
saying
but
even if
it's
I'm
not
staying
just,
with a
you're not,
relative.
Yes.
board
the
member
lodging-
Fregoso, that was you, right? They would get a meal allowance as well if they stayed with their family.
Sort of bent on that one,
You did, yes, you did.
yeah. I wouldn't lie.
If you want to, but.
Exactly.
I love it. I love it.
No.
So the motion on the table is if the tenant is able to provide, if the tenant is able to,
Secure their own house.
thank you, then all the stipulations, 3-star, 10-mile radius, they're able to do it. And then the owner is required to provide a payment to the tenant within 7 days.
Of closing or leaving or opening. You need
So
enough
this is the
stipulation.
thing, because if I have to stay 14 days, I'm not going to have a receipt until day 15.
Receipt.
Receipt
All right,
date.
sounds good.
But could I get some type, I don't know, do hotels give you a tally, like this is where we are right here?
Generally they don't.
They could do the
They probably
first
could.
day, the first day, they'll tell you what their charge is gonna be the first day, but they don't give you a closing. I say that we provide from the date of the receipt, we have 7 days to provide the 182 for however many days they were out.
Say that again, on the day they get the receipt?
If the lodging, correct. The day they provide you the receipt of what the grand total was, and it didn't exceed the 182, we have 7 days to pay them.
Okay, so they stayed somewhere for 7 days, and then they bring you a receipt, and then you got 7 days to pay them.
Correct.
I'm
Correct.
good with that, I guess.
Because that way we start with the receipt. Now, if they didn't have the money to pay it, then you're paying it. It's a moot point
You'll get
because
the receipt.
you're paying it directly and you don't have a lodging per diem.
Say that one more time.
I said, if we're paying the per diem to the tenant, it starts 7 days from the day they bring their receipt,
Got that one.
okay? If for some reason the tenant was not able to pay the hotel
Mm-hmm.
and the owner had to pay it, there is no 7 day because we're paying the hotel. There is no lodging fee because we paid it directly.
Owners pay up front.
Right.
Okay.
So there is no 7 days because we paid the hotel.
So now the scenario is I can't, I have no I don't have family I could stay with, and I can't secure a hotel, and my owner is not here. What do I do?
If the owner is gonna provide it, though,
No,
Yeah.
but see,
they're
the
not
issue
here.
is out-of-town owners.
out of town, I book rooms out of town all the time.
I understand, but some people, I guess, don't believe in doing that.
Well, I've reserved rooms out of state. But,
It's the same thing.
but my son can't leave and go get that room unless I'm there with my credit card.
With the credit card.
So I don't know how that works because I was always told my credit card and myself have to be there.
Correct.
No, I've sent, you might have to put their name on it too, or something like that. Because I just put my in-laws in the Embassy Suites over here, like, when my dad passed in September.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I wasn't there when they checked in. I just had to add their name so that they could check in.
So when you made your reservation, it was under your name also there.
Under my name, and then I just had to add a name to it.
Okay.
And my credit card wasn't there when they did it.
So for a person who can't secure the room and doesn't have a family that they can stay with, at any time, is the owner required to provide per diems without a receipt?
Mm-hmm.
Provide.
No, because
I'm
they're-
asking.
No, because the owner's paying the hotel,
Okay.
right? Because the per diem is for the lodging,
And we're taking care of
when
the
they're
lodging.
bringing the receipts.
Per diem is for lodging and meals.
Yeah.
Correct. But we're just talking about the lodging.
Okay.
So the lodging, if the owner put it on his credit card, the tenant should not get any lodging per diem,
Got it. Got it.
only meals.
Got it.
Only meals, yeah. I got with that.
They require receipts. I insist on receipts. 'Cause
I
many people-
understood. I got you. I got it. Any pause for cause? Cause for pause?
No, not on the lodging. No,
No? Okay.
not on
But
that.
do we have it straight now?
Nope. Well, yeah, you now make
Um,
make a motion that includes all of that.
Make a motion that
It
includes
show
all
how
of that.
well you have it.
Yeah, do we have that written down? Because I could just say all of that.
So the motion is,
I make a motion.
I make a
There you
motion
go.
that the lodging per diem is $182. If the tenant is,
Madam Chair, GSA.
I'm sorry, what did I say?
Thank you. 182.
Oh, I'm sorry, the GSA rate per diem for lodging. If the tenant is not able to pay their lodging and the owner has to pay the hotel directly, that suffices for the lodging per diem. And we have 7, and that's
There
it.
wouldn't be any.
That's it.
There would be no stipulation except for the per diem of meals.
Okay, vote on that part first. She needs a second.
I second.
There you go.
Madam Secretary?
Board Member Hamilton,
Yes.
Board Member Fregoso,
Yes.
Board Member Evans,
Yes.
Board Member Brown,
Yes.
and Chairperson Heaney.
Yes.
Oh, damn, mercy.
It's beautiful. Wasn't that beautiful?
Second part.
I got plates to rent.
The per diem for meals.
We already did that, didn't we?
Nope, you're
Oh, we
you're
did.
good. So in the event that the room has cooking facilities, we know that you don't have to pay meal. I think that's already established. So
Okay.
it might behoove you to pay $220 a night for a room instead of paying $74 for 5 people. But that goes without saying.
Okay.
The second part is if a tenant is able to secure their lodging. I need a motion on that one. Because it's going to be included in the resolution.
That wasn't on the first motion? If they weren't
It was
able
not
to?
inferred.
I thought you, no, was it? Did I miss it? If the owner secures lodging, no per diem is due.
Right.
Now I need one for if the tenant secures their lodging, when is the owner required to pay
Gotcha.
that?
So I make a motion to, if the tenant has to pay the hotel or lodging, the lodging is based on the GSA rate, and we, as the owner, have 7 days to pay that per diem for lodging after the receipts have been provided.
There you go.
So the 7 days start from the date we have been given the receipts from the tenant.
I second the motion.
Madam Secretary?
Board Member Hamilton,
Yes.
Board Member Fregoso,
Yes.
Board Member Evans,
Yes.
Board Member Brown,
Yes.
and Chairperson Heaney.
Yes.
Oh my God, a 5-0 vote.
A five-chair turn, right?
Now we need a motion regarding if the tenant is not staying at a place
Correct.
that can provide receipts.
Right.
Um,
So the motion, I make a motion, $75 to the tenant if they're not staying at a hotel and they're staying at a friend's and/or family member.
Or someplace where you can't get a receipt, right? In a trailer, in a shelter, in something.
If unable, okay, so my motion is, if the tenant is unable to provide a receipt, the flat amount of $75 will be provided for lodging.
I second that.
Madam Secretary?
Board Member Hamilton,
Yes.
Board Member Fregoso,
Yes.
Board Member Evans,
Yes.
Board Member Brown,
Yes.
and Chairperson Heaney.
Yes.
What?
All on the same page.
3 5-0s? Oh.
In a
Uh-oh.
row.
I do.
Look, uh-oh.
I'm sorry.
Something's wrong. Watch out for lightning.
I just want to be clear on the 7 days from receipt of lodging. So I'm the tenant. I paid for my hotel and lodging. Now I'm at the end because you're saying have to provide a receipt. Am I checked out? Am I still in? Because when you check out, you have to pay, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And that means I'll have to come out of my pocket,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
and then the owner has 7 days
Correct.
to pay.
Long 7 days.
Yes.
That is a long 7 days after I pay my rent.
You have up to 7 days.
They have up to 7 days
Yes.
to pay. And if an owner refuses to pay?
The owner can't refuse to pay. That's,
Oh, they refuse all the time.
Yeah, what happens if
Do
they,
you, what happens if the owner does not pay my receipt?
take me to court?
Court.
well, that's a whole different stipulation because these are all sorts of things that the owner, what
think it
happened,
needs to
where
be
is the
3 days.
stipulations if the owner doesn't comply to all the other rules?
So if the owner refuses to register, their tenant doesn't have to pay rent. So there needs to be some consequence. You guys are setting the rules.
Got it, okay.
Yeah, because
Board
I'm,
Member
yeah, because
Fregoso.
if I have to check out on the 7th day, that means somebody has to pay on that 7th day.
Correct.
You're not reimbursing me
But
as a
what you
tenant
said-
until 7 days later. If I just want to get clarity on that,
Yeah, but
right?
you as a tenant said you had the ability to secure the room. So that means you got the ability to do it. If you don't, then you need to say that up front.
Okay, so
And-
if I,
and-
oh,
and-
okay, so an ability to pay means not just, I don't have the credit card. I might not have the ability to pay. I can't pay, and so owner,
Have a
you get
credit
the
card, but
choice.
it's maxed out or whatever.
Whatever, and
Yeah.
then owner, then you get the choice to choose, and then I don't have the
They
choice
just
to
need to
refuse.
understand
Okay.
that they're not gonna get the money till,
That still
7
doesn't
days.
solve our issue, because if you, that's one scenario.
Mhm.
The other scenario is, they thought they had the money, they got their hotel room, they have their receipts, the owner doesn't pay, what happens next in that scenario?
and it's the
Right?
same type of remedy if they don't follow any of the rules, right?
That's what you're here for.
I think it needs to
If
be.
they don't follow your rules, what happens? Board Member Fregoso.
Evict them. Put them up.
Pass.
Well, once I get my permit, then we can talk.
Admit.
So we're assuming the tenant has to pay rent when we relocate them, correct? Okay, so what if we say if the owner doesn't pay the receipts within the 7th day, the tenant can hold the rent until the receipts are paid?
Or they can,
Or could deduct that amount from their rent.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yeah, because if it's just 7 days, for the first 30 days, I've already paid my rent,
Right.
right? And so let's say the fire happened on the 8th of November, and I paid for a room from the 8th to the 14th. I think technically that's how the 7 days work. So it put me up from November 8th to the 14th, and I bring Mr. Fagoso, here goes my receipt. 7 times 182 plus the tax and the TOT, and this is what it is. And
182.
then, I know it's 182 period,
Okay.
but, and then Mr. Fregoso, by day 7, has not reimbursed me my funds. Mr. Fregoso needs some type of consequences for violating the rental housing board laws.
I think it needs to
Along
be-
with not
Allow
receiving
'em to
rent,
take it
next
out the
month's
rent.
rent free,
Or they don't pay next month's rent, period.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Give them 3-day notice.
No, not if you
no,
set that as
not
a
if
rule.
it's in the
Compliance.
laws.
Not if
Oh,
it's a
but Mr.
rule.
I would say
Fregoso,
let
would
'em-
yes,
let
they
'em
will.
just
They will end up
deduct it
doing
from
that.
the rent.
You're gonna land up in court
Deduct whatever the
defending.
amount is from the rent.
Next month's rent.
Okay.
Now, if it's more than what the rent is,
Then he need to reimburse, the owner needs to reimburse.
but you saying in the case that the owner didn't want.
Right,
to.
but so if we're gonna require, and so this is the thing though, so if whatever has me displaced takes more than, let's move past 7 days. Let's say it takes 21 days.
Ooh.
Then we could require that the tenant, right, check out every 7 days just to give you a receipt to give me some more money? Like, what does that look like?
Mm-mm.
I'm sure you could do that, something like that. That would, let them come up, because they don't want to wait that long for their money anyway, right?
Yeah,
Right, for 21.
So after a few days, they could, check out and check.
Because
back
we're
in.
saying as of the date of receipt, so if they're going to be there long-term, I can ask for the hotel, could you please tell me what I owe as of today? They give you a statement.
And
That's
accounting,
what I was
accounting,
asking
yeah.
for. Can you do it from a statement?
Yeah,
Because it's only gonna be
right,
$182.
right.
So if their room daily turns out to be $220 after taxes, you're only required to pay $182.
per day.
Correct,
And I think that's fair.
right, right.
Yeah. By day 5, my room, or day 7, my room right now is,
1,270.
I love it, thank you. And so I get something from the hotel that says this is what my
As of today.
fees are as of today, and then you have 7 days.
I think that needs to be cut down
Which one?
to 7 days. I think it needs to be cut down to 5.
Okay,
That's a long time to wait, you know.
it is.
That's I mean, say,
Days or-
you done put that on your credit card and your statement is coming up and you don't have money to pay all that. So I think it needs to be cut down to 3,
3 days, 3 business days.
3 business days. Because 7 days is a long time.
But we're saying up to 7 days.
Which means some of these owners can,
Well, wait 7 days, but I think it needs to be up to 3 days.
3 business days.
That's how long it takes a letter to get from point A to point B.
It don't take me that long to send you something, not with emails and stuff.
Letter, I said. The guy on the horse that goes around and leaves it in.
We already have the motion?
Is, so Miss,
I move that it be cut down from 7 days to 3 days.
this is
That the patient, that the tenant is reimbursed.
this is upon
Receipt of,
receipts
yeah,
of charges.
Yeah,
Uh, I thought we were already on what
Yes.
happens if they don't pay.
Yeah,
We are.
we already had approved it.
What do you mean? We already approved the 7 days. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
This was more about if the owner didn't pay.
Right,
What's the penalty? What's the punishment?
And you guys said,
And we said, take it deducted from the rent, and somebody else said something else.
Right. There has not been a motion on to what the penalty will be. There has been a motion up to 7 days.
okay.
I'll make a motion that if the owner refuses to pay, that the tenant is able to, I'll never say this, withhold the rent, the amount
Oh,
of the money out
Not
of
the
the
whole
rent.
rent.
No, just the amount, whatever the amount is.
Could we add a penalty?
It should
You could
be.
add, whatever you want. to
Late
add.
fee.
Yeah, late fee.
Well, I mean, yeah, something, because the owner didn't follow through and didn't do what they were supposed to. There should be some consequences besides the deducting.
Yeah, you could add, some type of penalty if he doesn't do it within, after the 7 days.
So
we don't do
it'll
it.
be deducted from the rent and a penalty of $500.
Mm-hmm.
But after, I was saying after a few days. Hold on.
That's a good incentive.
No,
Yeah,
not,
that'll
oh,
make 'em
deducted from
pay.
the rent and, no, I didn't say that.
Well, but there has to be a consequence that the tenant has to
Or
go
either they
through all
get the
that.
next month free.
Or, you could say that they don't, oh, man.
Well, you know how they say you get pain and
Don't worry.
suffering? Okay, you pain
No, I
and
was gonna say
suffering
they
me,
didn't
but
have to
I
pay
give you
But
until
my
there
they-
has
money.
to
they
be a
had paid it.
consequence to the owner because they didn't pay what we said, up to 7 days.
There's a
They didn't
consequence, they
pay it.
took the money out the rent.
But that's not a slap on the hand.
Mm-mm,
Trust me, it is.
That's not,
Got the
that's,
hell you wanna
that's not a consequence.
mm-mm.
It's not?
No,
No.
because you're just reimbursed what you, because to me, it just allows you to delay what you should have paid me anyway.
Exactly.
That's not a
I think it
consequence.
should be.
Well, I was
And
gonna
you-
say if they take it out of the rent and then if they don't pay it in the next few days, then you tack on
No.
a $500.
That's not fair.
Okay, so let's say that I provided, I'm gonna always use my person, Mr. Fagoso, a statement, and the rent up to, the hotel fees up to this point is 1,200. Give me my number.
And 74.
$1,270,
$74.
$74.
21 cents.
and 21 cents. And Mr. Fragoso has 7 days from today to pay it. Day 7 comes, Mr. Fragoso gave me nothing. I'm still mid-month, and I'm not back in my unit. So I'm still racking up charges. So after day 7, day 8 and 9, what, he gets a penalty or?
Mm-hmm. After 7.
Day 8, he
Yeah, so
penalty.
exactly.
Day
So
eight,
day
day eight.
8,
8th day.
in addition to what he owes me for the room, a penalty of what, 10% of what he owes? Like, you guys have to come up with that number.
Oh, that's a good one, instead of a flat fee of $500.
Yeah. You owe me
10% of,
whatever that hotel
Okay.
charge is.
10% of what he owes.
Yes.
Okay, somebody can make that
Plus
motion.
10%.
Okay. Motion, I'm making a motion.
I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. But if now I'm going into week 2, you now owe, it's 10% of what you owe me. So let's just say my room is $1,264. That means you owe me $126.40, right? That's taxed on, and so now I'm at 13, 14 and some change. And then I add another 12 on there, whatever that new total is, and you still don't pay within 7 days, you now owe me 10% on that total.
Correct,
It's always gonna be what you owe the tenant.
correct.
Can we agree? I'm looking at my person. I think that's fair.
15%.
Why are you shaking your head no?
No.
Okay. Well, somebody make a motion.
The motion is, if receipts are provided and the owner has not paid the tenant by the 7th day, on the 8th day, it'll be 10% of what is owed, and it will be deducted from the next month's rent.
The amount plus 10%.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Madam Secretary?
Board Member Hamilton,
Want me to help you? No.
Why are you stressing?
So if they don't pay 10%, 10% on eighth day,
Add it to that.
I'll say yes. I don't want to, but yeah.
Board Member Fregoso,
No.
Board Member Evans, Board Member Brown,
Yes.
Chairperson Heaney.
Yes.
Will it be worded? Oh, do I have to raise my hand? No. Question. Go ahead. Will it be worded like that? Or
Yeah, talking to the microphone.
Amount plus 10%.
will it stipulate, the verbiage?
Yes,
Will we
that'll be
use
put on the ordinance.
penalized? Will be penalized?
Yeah, there'll be it's going to be a penalty of 10%.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Amount which you owe me plus 10%.
Did we clear it all up?
Just,
No, what we got now?
No. Again, so is this been, I didn't see this listed on the recommendations 1 through 8, but adopting the 30 days, 31 days rent differential, is that clear? And enough to be included in the resolution? Because that's gonna, everything that was just decided is gonna, now we have to factor in when rent differential payments, this was all nice and sweet with a 14-day displacement, but when you start talking 61 days, 31 days, how does all this play out? Because what's proposed right now was the rent differential from 31 days to 90 days.
Are you
So,
guys good with that?
I'm sorry. We were discussing the per diem rates, right? So now we're done with the per diem, and now we're saying if the tenant is still out from 31 to 90 days, it's no longer considered per diem, it's now considered rent differential?
which is, was a proposal. You don't have to take that, you can stay with per diem, but yeah, that's the proposal, that after the 30th day, so day 31, and that was kind of to make things fair, that you're not paying a high per diem rate. If the per diem was 178, now you're paying the rent differential payments, and that's a whole nother calculation, so. The rent differential
yes,
payments?
please.
Sure. So again, the rent differential formula is the fair market rent. So again, the current fair market rent, for example, for a 2-bedroom is $2,544, right? So let's say the contract rent is $2,000. You take the FMR of 2,544, subtract the 2,000, and the rent differential payment is the 544.
So we're paying
Yeah.
the displaced tenant 544.
And that's not per day. That's not a per day. That would be, that's per month. Then you
After
could
the
divide that
30
by
It's
30 and
by
get your
30.
daily.
You
Yes,
divide it by
and then
30.
you divide it by 30 to get the daily amount. So
Oh.
if it takes 35
So
days.
let me ask you this
yeah.
question. What if the rent is right at the
If it's fair
fair
market,
market?
then you pay them nothing. There is nothing to pay.
I'm confused on that.
Because the tenant doesn't pay rent. That's the difference. The tenant is holding their rent. See, the first 30 days, the tenant is responsible for rent. They're still responsible to pay their rent. They're still they're responsible for paying their rent. You're not giving them back their rent and then collecting per diem. They pay their rent for that full month. They've paid rent, so they're responsible for the rent.
Day 31, they don't have to pay rent anymore?
Day 31, they don't have to pay rent anymore, and the owner only owes the rent differential. So if your rents are at fair market, then there's nothing. Yeah, but if you're lower, if the rents are lower, then you're paying that rent differential amount.
Again, an incentive to get these people back in
Correct. But that's not a daily amount. That's
monthly,
correct.
up to the 90 days.
Correct.
And then after the 91 days, there's a different.
Right.
So-
Now, if you don't have to vote on this. This is what just was proposed. If you want to continue to pay per diem, day 31,
Oh, that would be extremely expensive.
through
Amber
90,
said no.
be responsible for a daily per diem rate.
Monthly per diem is 18.
I just need to they just need to make sure their rents are up, so they don't have to pay anything.
Yeah, and that's,
I have a question.
so,
So,
and that's where owners are able to keep, so tenants keep their money and you're not coming out of the pocket as an owner paying a daily per diem rate.
So, one more time.
So the rent differential is the FMR. So let me provide something to you guys. Hold.
How do we stop this air from blowing out?
yeah, because the per diem was just the 30 days.
Yeah, up to
Then we're
30.
done.
We're done.
Because
No
they
more per
paid-
diem.
Because they paid their rent.
But you're saying the problem is so bad that after 30 days,
30
they're
to
still
90.
misplaced.
Yeah, we've had people who've been displaced for,
So the
for
per
a
diem
long-
stops, but now you got to give them something else. So they're not going to pay rent, but their calculation is based on,
Right, the fair market rent.
Fair
You're
market
deducting
rate.
what their rent is from fair market rent and then divide that by 30, and that's your new per diem rate. That's what it is.
But it's divide the the difference by 30 days, and that's the new per diem.
Correct. That's your new per diem rate.
Exactly.
They might as well move.
Okay, so.
Well, that's when the 90-day comes in.
Yeah, because sometimes, like you said, people are displaced for a variety of reasons. If you have a pipe that busts versus the fire might take much longer, and it might take you into 90 days. Or it might take you into 60 days to get a fire repaired versus there was a water pipe and it's just water damage on the floor.
So if you already know that the damage is going to be more than 90 days, instead of going for the first 30-day per diem, can you just jump to the 90-day, the permanent relocation?
That's what you guys can discuss to make those stipulations.
I like that one.
Instead of paying day one.
You
through
know, yeah, because like when my unit burned, I knew it was gonna be much longer than 90 days or whatever. I just actually got it completed. The fire was in February, and I just got it all completed the end of this month.
The cautionary tale is where you have you might have a fire and unit 1 might be severely burned, but unit 2 and 3 only have smoke damage. And you don't want to have the owner get unit 2 and 3 out permanently. They only have smoke damage and they serve them a notice to be evicted.
So it's the whole
Versus-
building, not just per unit.
It needs to be considered per
It
unit.
needs to be considered per unit, yeah,
Yeah.
not, yeah.
Yeah,
So
per unit,
again,
because-
if unit 1 was the fire and they have severe damage and it might take 90 days, over 90 days, and only unit 3 and 4 only have smoke damage, then we don't want an owner to come in and displace those tenants.
Right.
They had lower rents, then they want to just get them out. That's kind of why, that was the idea behind the 90-plus days, because you as a board can make that determination on a case-by-case. You can better determine if an owner is trying to, or a property manager is just trying to get them out and using this as a loophole to get others out versus, no, this is true damage, it's gonna take this and it's gonna stretch it out. You may vote yes or no on that. You might even you might not grant the permanent relocation. You might say, no, you have another week to get it done, contractors, so those are all things to consider with the timeframes and the different types of displacement.
So, oh, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, if I'm displaced, okay, and I'm staying in the hotel, okay, they're paying me your per diem for the first 30 days, right? Okay. Within that 30 days, am I getting the per diem from them, plus I have to turn around and pay them the rent?
You've already paid rent the first 30
Okay.
days.
Okay, supposedly it goes to the 31 day and to 90 days. I'm not paying rent at all,
No.
but they're gonna pay me.
It depends on what
And
your
the
rent
hotel.
is. No, it depends on what your rent is. So let's just say your 2-bedroom is $2,500,
Mm-hmm,
and the fair market is $2,544.
mm-hmm.
They only owe you $44 for the next 30 days.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Plus the no hotel room.
No.
Because you're keeping
because
your
you're
rent.
keeping your
You're
rent.
keeping your rent. You
So-
have your 2,500.
You don't owe them nothing. If my contract rent is $2,600, and I see what you're saying. My rent is more than fair market. So do I have to pay the $56 for rent? Rent differential.
No, that's not how rent differential works according to the definition, but if that's what you guys want to state, yeah. Because the tenant's they're keeping their 2,600. They're not having to owe it to the owner, so they keep it. So who would be paying the
Their
difference?
right to go back in the unit is what you're saying. Right.
Yes.
Oh, wait, was that the question? I missed that.
No.
Rent here for 2-bedroom is 2,544.
Correct.
So let's say that you're only paying 2,000.
Mm-hmm.
Who gets what?
The owner pays the tenant $544.
The owner pays the tenant for being low on his rent? What happened if he's paying the 2,500? then he only owes them $44.
Correct. And if they're above,
Bring
if
him
they're,
up to
if they're
FMR.
at fair market or higher, then again, the tenant is keeping something that's a fair market. They can go get a hotel or something at that comparable amount. And the owner doesn't pay the tenant anything.
But you can decide that you, instead of doing this calculation, you can go from permanent relocation after 31 days.
Or if it, so
He's saying
that's
that-
the question. If at day one, you know, your building burned down, you know it's gonna take more than 90 days to do it. You need to come up with some type of procedure that if I wouldn't leave it up to an owner to decide this is gonna be 90 days. This is gonna take more than 90 days. As owners, I would think you would be able to know, no, this should only take 30 days. And then not allow the owner to say, well, these tenants have to go, I paid them permanent relocation. And then, you know what I mean? So one of the reasons why we have owners is so you can put your owner hat on and say, no, this smoke damage, it only takes 2 weeks for them to scrub the walls and get rid of whatever toxin that's left by the smoke. It doesn't take 120 days to do that. But if day one, if I have an issue and I'm saying, after talking to various departments or whatever, that this is gonna take more than 90 days, then the board should approve you are granted permanent relocation. You have to now pay your tenants permanent relocation assistance, as opposed to paying them a per diem for the first 30 days and written differential 31 to 60. You already know that it's gonna be more than 90 days.
Yeah, so I would say in that case, if you know that it's gonna be a 90-day, it's gonna take longer than 90 days, like in my case, I knew it was gonna take more than 90 days, then they ought to be able to just
Find
go
another
to the
place.
90-day thing, yeah.
So
Find
they
another
should be
place
able
and-
to petition you to approve
Petition.
it,
The board.
you. So it's upon your approval, not them saying it.
You mean the owner?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they could petition the board and we could hear them out.
Okay.
And just like you said, we can see, you know, I should be able to tell, you should be able to tell if something's gonna take 90 days or less.
All right. So,
You need a motion?
yep.
Okay, so here we go. You go. I make a motion that if it's obvious, or if the owner believes it's obvious that it's going to take more than 90 days, that he can petition the board in order to do relocation,
Permanent.
permanent relocation.
Yes.
Within the first 30 days?
With
immediately?
yeah, immediately.
Just make sure.
Need a second.
I second that.
Maria, you got a question?
Yes, I have a question. Because you're saying in the first 90 days, does that mean that the tenant on the first 30 days doesn't get the per diem because he didn't pay rent? Because he already paid rent? Right?
Let's get the per diem.
Say it one more time.
Okay, so he's saying that if he already knows it's going to be more than 90 days, we're going to say, we're going to ask the tenant for permanent relocation. My question is,
The owner for permanent relocation.
the owner's going to, right, to relocate them. What happened to the first 30 days of the per diem that the tenant paid the rent already? Does the per diem, the first 30 days not happen with the permanent relocation package?
Does that come into play? Because then the owner has offered to pay permanent relocation assistance because they know that.
Miss Evans, you have to talk into the mic.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
You have to.
And I love karaoke. I'm freezing.
Your chair?
You said,
The per
freezing?
diem
'Cause I'm freezing.
does the per diem come into play because the owner has already stipulated that it's going to take more than 90 days? So they're offering the tenant permanent relocation assistance.
Yeah. Yes. If I understood you correctly, you're saying, say it again. I'm sorry, just
So the question is, if there's a fire,
Correct.
okay, the tenant already paid his first 30 days when the fire happened.
Mm-hmm,
If we know it's going to be more than 90 days,
mm-hmm.
then he qualifies for permanent relocation. What happens to the per diem for the first 30 days? Is that
Well, I would
obsolete?
throw that question back out to you because technically the tenant is displaced while you're waiting to get in front of the board. What happened? That was going to be my question to you guys. Why your owner is eligible because they know a fire happens, they know that it's going to take a contractor has to come out and all that type of stuff. And then the contractor says, no, it's going to take more than 90 days and you petition for the board. That's still a process. In the meantime, what's happening to the tenant? Because I don't have a place to stay. So what's going on with the tenant? I don't have an answer. That would be my question if that's what you guys are proposing to petition.
Well, I'm asking because that would be 30 days of per diem of lodging
Yes.
before you went into the clock of
Yeah,
being
because
out
it's
the
going to
90
take a while
days.
because especially with the fact that, yeah, let's throw this in because you guys don't have currently, we only hold meetings once a month. So even for them to petition and get in front of you is going to be some time frame. And what's going on with the tenant during that time frame?
And on those instances, you can call special meetings.
Right. Or we
Doesn't-
could say, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Or we can say, if we already know that it is going to be more than 90 days and there will be permanent relocation, can we say we will give back the rent from the first 30 days?
Say it one more time.
My question is, if it ends up being more than 90 days and we know it's going to be a permanent relocation, the first 30 days, instead of doing the per diem, can we just give back, state that the rent will be returned for the first 30 days and then do the package for the permanent relocation?
Well, a permanent relocation gives them, what, 3 months rent?
But it doesn't start till after the 30 days of per
I
diem.
understand, I understand.
Yeah, because you guys have to make a determination, right? Yeah.
Can we
That
go
could work.
to the permanent relocation minus the money we paid them for per diem? You know, so that they get housed and fed and all that stuff, and then, because it took time, like you said, it's a process getting here, and doing all that stuff. Then we give them the relocation, but just deduct the money we had to pay them in the meantime.
So if their relocation amount is $7,000,
And we
And
had to
you
do
pay- and you
7
paid-
days or 10 days of per diem or whatever. Then we
oh,
just-
before they got to the
before
board,
we got to the board to get the approval for the permanent relocation.
is the board opposed to special meetings? Tuesdays seem to be a good day. No? Why are you shaking your head? No?
Because I don't. when,
We said
I
Wednesday.
got
I mean,
stuff to do.
Wednesday.
but of course, we would find, like, are you available on
Uh-huh.
this Tuesday?
I mean,
or
yeah, no,
as-
I mean, I do my best, but
my vote,
Say it again, Mr.
Yeah, just
Hamilton.
double my vote.
Gotcha.
I'll give you.
Power of attorney.
It's proxy.
But see,
No,
the
I mean, no,
problem
that's
is-
just
The
here and there.
problem is that if you already know at the beginning of the fire, why are you spending per diem every day if you already know you're going to be
Because
displacing them?
only because it, like she said, it's gonna take time to get in front of the board and stuff like that.
But that's why
You
we
saying
should
a
make a
special meeting?
motion. No, that's why we should make a motion that if there is going to be a permanent relocation, we will give, we will not do the per diem and just return their rent for that 30 days. Already, I mean, if we already know, let's establish what's going to happen to the per diem instead of waiting to see what they added up.
That wouldn't be a bad idea. From
Yeah,
2,000
because it's
down to-
cheaper.
From 5,000 down to 2,000.
That's what, I mean, it might be, and it just solves it, so you don't have to displace them. You give them that money, give them back the rent for the first 30 days as opposed to doing all these receipts. And that's just, I'm asking, is that possible?
I'm good with that.
regardless of when the displacement started.
Well, knowing that it's going to end up being a permanent relocation.
I got you. So let's just say the fire happened on the 27th, and I've stayed in this unit from day 1 to 26. I'm still getting that month's rent back?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
As opposed to paying $5,000.
exactly.
That gives the owner something.
Right, because that per diem is going to be much more than their rent.
It is.
Oh,
Look
so
at
just
you
refund
smiling.
their rent, is what you're saying?
And not deal with the receipts and the per diem and the food and all that. I mean, that's, because you already know it's going to be 90 days.
Problem is,
But the
what
yeah.
she said is that they're gonna be aced out.
They're going to be who?
They're gonna be what?
They're gonna be-
aced out, or another, we're gonna be, out
They
in
don't
the
have a
street.
place to stay, you saying?
No, but you're giving them permanent relocation.
Right, but between the time they find a place to stay and they're burnt and they don't have a place to stay, that's the question that she brought up.
But you're giving them their rent back. So then the onus would be on, if we get a petition for permanent relocation because it's going to take more than 90 days, we can't wait a month to the next month till you guys meet. It has to be a special meeting.
And yeah, but that may be a week or two. Where's the person gonna be?
Does permanent
Look-
relocation require a meeting?
No, but you
In this instance, it
you
is.
determining that it's going to be more than 90 days would. I wouldn't leave that up to me or staff.
No,
Because an
but
owner can say, oh, it's going to take 120 days, and you two look at it, or you 5 look at it and say, no, this is only 14 days.
oh, got it.
That's
I'll
the,
send my crew. And we'll take care of
right.
it.
Or what, yeah.
So it has to be determined by someone other than just the owner
Yes.
that it is a permanent relocation.
Correct.
Mhm.
Got it.
That was the
Okay.
important thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll be here all
That
night,
has
huh?
to be
Welcome to
decided.
relocation.
Right.
Yeah, when I read it, I was like, oh, this is not gonna be, it's not something I want. I was like, this is not gonna be easy.
I mean, and, we can, this is November. You still have one more month.
Yeah.
I do have a meeting next month, though, don't we?
I would think so, yeah. So, I mean,
Things to consider.
you can table it, bring it back.
Yeah, 'cause how long are we gonna go?
We've been in here for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
So in order for it to
Asking
be
for it.
determined to be a permanent relocation, we can petition for it to be an outside from the owner and the tenant. It could be the city or a third
Second
party,
opinion? Second opinion, they say, or third opinion?
something. I mean, and that way we could just, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
if
Miss-
we ask an outside party for their opinion
Mm-hmm.
in our meeting, while it's in the first 30 days and we're paying per diem, right? And because we want to get it as soon as possible, we can have a special meeting. They can bring their reports to tell us it is going to be more than 90 days, therefore then it's now a permanent relocation.
So then my question is, Mr. Hamilton, how many contractors do you know personally?
Contractors?
Mm-hmm.
I know 2 or 3,
Okay.
but I have my own construction crew.
Oh, okay, and then there's that. And if you tell them to write something that says it's going to take 75 days to put this wall up,
You're gonna bring the crew?
No, that's the truth.
So can the
Right.
city, can
Or maybe
can
if
the,
it's already the
I can.
master
I'll,
can the
I'll
city
check with
have,
Econ to see if they have, like, building, right? If building says it's gonna take, assessing the issue, this looks like it'll take X amount of days to complete. We can do that. But in that case,
Especially when you get building involved.
right,
Then you gotta wait for,
Permits
permits
and
and
things.
inspections and stuff like that.
Which is usually
but they
the
can
case.
at least give us an honest opinion and say,
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
this
absolutely.
won't happen in 90 days.
Mhm.
So let's already give them a
Move 'em,
permanent
yeah.
relocation.
And just so you know, other cities do kind of have that practice where the building and safety code enforcement go out to assess right then and there, and they make the determination because they're right there on site, because they get called out, for, again, building fire, in the case of a fire. Building typically is coming out to assess the safety measures, and then they're able to make their determination right there, and they actually issue temporary relocation orders right there on site because they are there, they're on site, and they help to make that determination of how long it'll take.
Ah,
So,
That's what I
LA
thought.
must be too big.
But at least it's not the tenant, not the owner, it's an actual city or,
correct.
and we have them available.
Okay.
So, yeah, things to
I'll
consider.
talk with the department.
Takes them a long time to get out.
Well, but this will be priority because we need to determine, all we're trying to determine is this
The
going to be
length of
more
time.
90 days. That's all we want.
So
Yeah, see,
the
with
other
the-
part of temporary is established. This is only if something happens and from the onset, the owner says, this is gonna take more than 90 days to not go through 1 through 30, 31 through 90. I wanna just do permanent relocation. That's what this is.
Yeah, I think they should probably
Correct.
keep the per diem because that's,
At least for the 30 days.
yeah,
No, but that's the thing. We want to determine immediately, as fast as we could, if we're going to continue with the per diem.
continue with the per diem, but you need to,
If, right,
yeah,
because
it
they're
start
saying
with
it's
the per
first-
diem, because
right.
if you don't start, then,
Okay, so what determines when you start the 30 days?
Okay?
So when the
fire
event
starts,
happens.
yeah.
Okay, so if we have an emergency meeting today that this happened, and we are and we get the advice that it's going to be more than 90 days, then we don't need the 30-day per diem, right?
Because they have to give them permanent, we can do it where they have permanent relocation within 15. You just have to pay them now.
Right, you're giving them back their rent.
Plus
Whatever
15
else you owe
days.
them.
Well,
I'm just saying, so.
So
how
once
is
you
that gonna
determine
work?
the permanent relocation, how soon do you have to give them the money?
15 days.
Oh, 15 days to give them the money.
give them back their rent.
No, the money.
Permanent relocation. That lump sum that
1,000
you
or
owe them for them
10,000,
to be
whatever it
gone, period,
Right.
15 days.
Does it include the first 30 days?
Pull it out of my pocket.
I think that's so if, and I think that's where if a fire happened and I'm out and the owner says this damage is gonna take more than 90 days to correct. And let's just say that happens day 3. I'm saying you owe them per diem until you get in front of the board.
So for those 3
Right.
days.
Yeah, you keep your rent. I don't give me
Okay.
no rent
Yeah,
back. You
you're
owe per
right.
diem until you get in front of the board.
correct, yes.
The thing is, staff can't hold on to this petition for 45 days because you're gonna keep paying. We
Right.
need to get it in front of the board as soon as possible. That's what it is, to
So
stop
we would have an
the
emergency
bleeding.
meeting and have staff gone to the location to verify if it's a permanent relocation matter.
Yes, meaning something taking more than 90 days.
Correct.
Yes, to correct.
Yeah, I like that one.
So we pay them the per diem up until they heard the board, and then if it's going to be more than 90 days, you also have to do the per diem plus
Give
the
'em
monthly
their-
rent?
Them rent back.
No, no,
Okay,
just no.
If you're
That's
doing
the
the
per
per
diem.
diem,
You're
you're
paying
not
a
getting
per
the
diem
rest.
until
Yeah.
you're
Okay.
paying a per diem until the board makes a decision. The board says, yes, this is gonna take more than 90 days. You have X amount of days to get them their permanent reload. You can tell them you owe them a check for permanent relocation within 5 business days. Then I think the per diem should happen until that 5th day. You gotta cover them until they get money to go. That's fair. But no, you don't give them rent back.
because okay, so you're giving them just the per diem for however long it took us. They're at a hotel. By the time we met, by the time code enforcement went to verify if it's going to be more than a permanent relocation matter.
Mm-hmm.
If it is a permanent relocation matter, we're paying them the per diem up to this day. We stop here And here is your money for your permanent relocation?
They're paying relocation up until the day the board says the check is due. So I'm in front of the board by day 10. I'm out of my unit by day 10, I'm in front of the board. The board agrees with the owner that
Won't take
this is
more
a
than-
permanent relocation matter. You have 7 business days to give them a check, and so they are owed per diem for the next 7 days.
Oh,
And then
Until they
send
get
it-
the check.
I like
until
that.
they
Yes,
receive.
Until
the-
they receive,
they receive
or
the
you
check.
you pay them per diem until that check is received.
Yeah, so the owner has incentive to pay him the permanent relocation.
Or you're gonna keep
Or
paying
you're
per
gonna be
diem.
paying per diem too,
Right, yes,
and the relocation.
yes, yes.
Okay.
I think that's fair.
Perfect, that's
It's
a motion.
cold. I'm cold. Why am I cold?
You cold?
Yes.
So we have the
And I don't
motion?
get cold.
Me either.
Okay. So,
Oh, so let's,
okay, the motion is. We just said it.
What she said.
L'Oreal, did you take notes? Okay, I'm sorry. Motion is the date of the emergency hearing to the board. And we determine by code enforcement that it's going to be more than 90 days. It will be turned over to a permanent relocation manner. And we will pay the per diem until they receive the check for permanent relocation. Is there a second?
A second.
Madam Secretary?
Board members Hamilton,
Yes.
Board member Fregoso,
No.
Board member Evans,
Yes.
Board member Brown,
Yes.
Chairperson Heaney.
Yes.
is there anything else, ma'am?
I know
I
it's
think we're,
cold in here.
I guess that covers everything,
I
correct?
believe it does.
Does it? That covers the rent, we're good with
We're good with
the
rent
91
differential.
days and all, okay, good, yes.
All right, so we're, DR3, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Are we still working?
I make a motion. Excuse me. I make a motion that the Housing Protection staff prepare a resolution based on the decision of the Rental Housing Board members to be submitted for board approval at the next regularly scheduled meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Secretary?
Board member Hamilton,
Bringing a reso that everything else said. It's coming back.
Yes.
There you go.
Board member Fregoso,
Yes.
Board member Evans,
Yes.
Board member Brown,
Yes.
Chairperson Heaney.
Yes. DR3.
Discussion of term criteria for the selection of the vice chairperson for the Rental Housing Board.
We will now have comments from the Housing Protection Director.
Okay, we'll make this very short. We have a chairperson. We need to elect a chairperson, a vice chair, in the event the chairperson is not available, and they would take over the duties as chair. As you know, 1, 2, 3, and 4 are selected by council persons, and your terms coincide with their terms. I believe the next election up is 3 and 4. I think 3 and 4, your terms would end next year. So what I'm suggesting, come January, that you guys each serve as a vice chair for 3 months, and then after that, you guys can select a vice chair permanently. But that's just or you guys can outright pick who you want for vice chair, and that be it too.
So as the chairperson, I need to do some extra stuff
You would do what the chairperson is doing
right
during the
now.
meeting, yes.
During the meeting, mostly.
Mr. Hamilton.
So is there a motion for a vice chair?
I motion that we vote for a vice chair now.
Okay. And you're-
And I'd like it to be Mr. Hamilton.
you need a second.
A second.
Okay.
With honor.
Go ahead.
Madam Secretary?
Board Member Hamilton,
Yes.
Yes.
Board Member Fregoso, Board Member Evans,
Yes.
Board Member Brown,
Yes.
Chairperson Heaney.
Yes.
Do you want to do the 3-month thing?
No, you're there is no 3 months. You're it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're it.
To the HMFIC, bro.
Okay.
Yes, he's only 8 if she's not here.
DR3?
You just did it.
Oh,
Public-
sorry.
public-
Is there a motion on the term criteria for the, oh, we already did that too?
Already did.
Okay,
Yep.
sorry about that. Okay, public comments regarding other matters. Persons wishing to address the Inglewood Rental Housing Board on any matter connected with the City of Inglewood housing protection regulations not elsewhere considered on the agenda may do so at this time. Persons with complaints regarding departmental operations are requested to submit those complaints first to the Housing Protection Director for resolution. Public comment section is now closed. We will now have closing remarks. Madam Secretary?
No comments at this time.
Mr. Hamilton?
I don't have any comments.
Mr. Fregosa?
No comment.
Ms. Evans?
No comment.
Ms. Brown?
No comment.
If there are no other comments, the Rental Housing Board meeting is now adjourned.